Are festivals important in your country?
Oh yes, festivals are very important in India because most festivals in India are religious. So people do connect a lot with the spirituality aspect of it, and it also happens to be a time when people actually go out and meet their relatives and friends and spend some time together.
Were festivals more important 20 years ago?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but the way we are celebrating the festivals has definitely changed. Like 20 years ago, you would have people posting cards to each other on festivals, but now they're just e-cards going online. And a lot of things have changed in the way we celebrate them. Like there's more of community activity happening now. Previously, it was more of a family thing.
Will festivals continue to be important?
Yes, I think at least in India they will continue to be important because even the younger generation are very much into the festivals. They like to perform all the rites and rituals involved, and they just like to get together with their relatives and spend some time together.
Can festivals be expensive?
Oh yes, festivals can be expensive. In fact, a lot of people take out extra money out of their pockets for the festival that are to come. In fact, a lot of offices give bonus to the employees when it's festival time. Especially like Diwali, you have to buy the firecrackers, new clothes, and all the expensive things that you're going to eat as specials and delicacies. Yeah, they do get expensive. In this part of the interview, you can actually give long answers, but just try to be more logical and grammatically correct.
Where are you from, Sujatha?
I'm from Hyderabad. It is a city in the south of India. In fact, it is one of the biggest 5 cities in our country.
Do you work or are you a student?
Well, at present I'm studying at the TAFE campus, but I also work part-time. I do some work at the restaurant and sometimes I do care work shift.
What subjects are you studying?
Well, I'm studying a lot of subjects as a part of my diploma of horticulture, but basically we have botany and soil and weeds and about chemicals like pesticides and insecticides.
Is it difficult?
Sometimes the practical aspect is difficult as it involves a lot of hard work and physical stamina. And sometimes you're in the sun or very cold and you still have to work in your garden, but the theory part is quite easy for me because I've done bits of it before previously in my schooling days. So.
What will you do when you finish?
Well, I'm thinking of going into management of landscapes or maybe parks or botanical gardens. I'm more interested in the management side because I wouldn't have to put in a lot of physical labor into it and just manage people and use my knowledge in the theory instead.
Do you like gardening?
Oh yeah, I've always been interested in gardens and gardening since childhood. We used to do a lot of gardening at school and that is something I've got from my family, I'd say, because my parents and their forefathers have always been into gardening and farming and stuff like that.
What's your favourite plant?
It's quite difficult to pick one favorite, but I would say I'm in love with orchids right now because I have one at home and I'm taking care of it every day. One-word answers won't show how well you speak, so try to use full sentences when you answer questions.
What do you do in your spare time?
I like to play with my dog in my spare time because he is just a lot of fun and very relaxing, and he just wants all the attention and the loving and cuddling. We just have a small ball game or something like that. It's very satisfying and it makes me very happy to see him happy and enjoying himself. And when he is like scratching and licking me and doing things, it's really cute and fun. It's just a nice way to take your mind off all the terrible things happening in your life and just relax. Yeah. I do manage to find a lot of things to do because, especially when I have long holidays, I think that's just a lot of spare time. And I spend it sleeping, reading books, and dancing a lot because I love to learn new ways of dancing and everything. Yeah, I read a lot of books when I have a lot of time. So, yeah, that's something I would do if I have a lot of spare time. I usually listen to a lot of music and I also dance a lot. It's just very relaxing and just takes my mind off the day-to-day activities and puts me into a new thought process, and yeah, just very relaxing for my mind. And especially when I start dancing to music, it's just a lot of endorphins flowing through me and it just gives me a high. Yeah. It's better to finish naturally when you haven't got much to say, but usually candidates do find a lot of things to talk about when they're asked such questions. So just say what you want to say.
What should change in India's education system?
Well, I would say instead of concentrating more on the scores in the exams that students get, they should have more of personality development happening at school, like more of extracurricular activities and sports and more of a character development, because children grow up into adults at school and they should have an overall good personality, even more important than what the marks they score in the exam.
Do boys or girls perform better at school?
Well, in India, we see that girls perform better than boys in most instances because girls are usually more disciplined and they have more pressure of performing well at school. Because if a girl doesn't perform well at school, it's more like, oh, you're a girl, you're not even supposed to be in school most of the time. So, yeah, they do perform better than the boys in most cases.
Are private schools better?
Well, yeah, when compared to the most government schools, private schools are much better because they are more disciplined. The teachers are more interested in teaching the kids, and even the parents would pay more attention to their kids' education because they are paying so much of money to get them into private schools.
Should everyone go on to further study?
Yes, I think everybody should go on to do further studies because whatever work you want to do in your life, you need to know the complete theoretical and practical aspects of it, which you can really get it by good education in it. Just say what you think and explain why.
Did people have more leisure time in the past?
Well, I would think, yes, people had more leisure time in the past, but that's purely because people weren't really as ambitious and work-oriented as they are now. I feel these days people are more into their careers and trying to get on the top and trying to be as competitive as possible, and they kind of are cutting down on their leisure time.
Is there enough leisure time now?
Well, I would say yes, if you do want to take out time from your daily activities for these things, you do usually end up having time, but it's about your priorities again and how you want to segregate your time into leisure time and work time. Yeah, but I do manage to find a lot of time for my leisure activities, so I think people should be able to do that.
Would you work if you didn't need the money?
Oh yes, initially I would like to waste some time, but eventually I'll start working again because I do have certain passions in life and I would like to follow them professionally.
Is leisure more important than work?
I would say there's a good balance between work and leisure, and both are as important, and none is more important than the other. But yeah, leisure is an important part of life. That's when you actually enjoy the beautiful things in life, like maybe going to a trek or spending time with your family and your pets, maybe having a hobby or something like that.
What do most people do with their spare time?
Well, I'm not too sure, but I think women love shopping all the time and guys would watching sports or maybe playing sports. Yeah, and it just depends, and some children would be like stuck to video games, I would say. There are no right answers. It's how you answer that matters. Well, the education system in India, I would say, is very developed, but then again, it varies according to the rural and urban sectors of society. But most people who come into middle class bracket, they send their children to school and they start early at kindergarten stage, and they go through the 1 to 10 classes, then 10 plus 2, and usually most people finish a graduation degree in India. I would say the standard of education in India is very high because there's a lot of competition, and almost every student and every parent want their children to do some graduation and post-graduation and do higher studies. And even at school and at college, it's very hard to get admissions into bigger and reputed colleges. So there's like really a lot of competition, and you'll find many students getting more than 90% out of their 100% score in the exams. So yeah, there's a whole lot of competition and people are really gearing up for it. I would say the friendship that we make when we are in school are the strongest ones because that's when we are most impressionable and we really get to know each other very well and we're like honest and sincere. Yeah, most of my friends right now are from school, and I think because I've grown up with them and we've built such strong relationships, my students and my teachers that I studied with will be a very important part of my life. Try to think of what you're going to say beforehand because a good conclusion makes a really good impression.
Did people have more leisure time in the past?
Well, I would think, yes, people had more leisure time in the past, but that's purely because people weren't really as ambitious and work-oriented as they are now. I feel these days people are more into their careers and trying to get on the top and trying to be as competitive as possible, and they kind of are cutting down on their leisure time.
Is there enough leisure time now?
Well, I would say yes, if you do want to take out time from your daily activities for these things, you do usually end up having time, but it's about your priorities again and how you want to segregate your time into leisure time and work time. Yeah, but I do manage to find a lot of time for my leisure activities, so I think people should be able to do that.
Would you work if you didn't need the money?
Oh yes, initially I would like to waste some time, but eventually
Describe a wedding that you've been to.
well, the only wedding that I was really closely observing was of my sister's. It was a very eventful day that day. We just started early in the morning, dress her up in the traditional sari and wear all the golden jewelry. We use a lot of gold on weddings, so just wear a lot of golden jewelry and flowers in her head and everything. We just took almost 2 or 3 hours just to decorate the bride, and then we went to the main ceremony where the bridegroom also comes along, and then we have a lot of holy rituals happening where you perform some kind of rituals around the fire, and then you exchange garlands, and then you kind of shower each other with rice and other interesting stuff and funny stuff. Then we have the lunch happening when everyone sit together and eat, but the very interesting part is the bride and the bridegroom don't get to eat till the end of the day. They kind of are fasting on that day, and it's very difficult on them because they're wearing all these heavy clothes and they're sitting through all the rituals and they can't eat and they watch everybody else eat. In the evening, what happens is that the bride is traditionally taken to the groom's house. So usually it happens in a car these days. So in a car, we took my sister, me, and the bridegroom. All of us, we went to the groom's house. Yeah, that's when the ceremony actually ends. So it's a long day. Get used to talking for about 2 minutes because then you would know how long